In the United Kingdom, terrorism investigations rarely begin with dramatic arrests. They begin quietly, with fragments, a phone number, a message, a suspicious financial transfer, a tip from a foreign intelligence partner. Sometimes, a single name. From that moment forward, a long and careful process begins. Because stopping a terrorist attack requires more than suspicion. It requires evidence, it requires coordination, and it requires law. Tonight, we are going inside that process. We will follow the entire pathway. From the moment MI5 first identifies a possible threat, to the moment armed officers make an arrest. This is how MI5 builds a terrorism case. From intelligence to arrest. First, we need to understand something important. Intelligence is not the same thing as evidence. MI5 gathers intelligence, but intelligence alone cannot convict someone in court. It may come from intercepted communications, covert sources, digital surveillance, foreign intelligence partners, or classified monitoring systems. All of this helps identify potential threats, but British courts require something else. Evidence. Evidence must be lawful. It must be recorded. It must be traceable. And it must be capable of being challenged by defence lawyers. So when MI5 begins monitoring a suspect, the goal is not simply observation. The goal is understanding. Who is this person? Yeah. Who do they communicate with? What networks are they connected to? Are they planning violence? Or are they only expressing extremist views? Because under British law, belief alone is not a crime. Planning violence is. Most terrorism investigations begin with a signal. Sometimes that signal is detected by GCHQ, the United Kingdom's Signals Intelligence Agency. It might be an encrypted message referencing weapons, communication with a known extremist abroad, or suspicious digital activity crossing international networks. Other times the signal comes from police intelligence, a suspicious purchase, a report from a concerned citizen, an online post flagged by investigators, or patterns discovered through data analysis. When the information appears credible, MI5 opens an investigation. The case is assigned to an operational team: investigators, analysts, surveillance specialists, legal advisors, and liaison officers working with Counter Terrorism Police. From the beginning, this is a joint effort, because MI5 cannot make arrests. Only the police can do that. The first phase is assessment. Investigators begin building a profile. Who is the suspect? Where do they live? Where do they work? Who do they speak to regularly? What ideology influences them? Are they acting alone or as part of a network? Modern terrorism investigations often focus on small groups or individuals radicalized online. Understanding the structure of the threat is essential because the response depends on it. If suspicion grows, surveillance may begin. But MI5 cannot simply monitor someone indefinitely. Surveillance must be authorised. Intrusive techniques require legal warrants. These warrants must pass through the UK's double lock system. First, ministerial approval, then judicial approval. Only after both signatures are obtained can the surveillance begin. Once authorised, investigators begin gathering intelligence. Sometimes this involves physical surveillance, officers discreetly following a suspect, observing meetings, tracking movements, documenting behaviour. Other times, surveillance involves communications interception, monitoring calls, capturing messages, or analysing digital activity. In certain cases, investigators may use equipment interference, accessing computers or mobile devices remotely. Every action is documented because any piece of intelligence may later become evidence. As surveillance continues, investigators search for something specific: mobilisation. This is the point where extremist thinking begins to transform into action, and identifying mobilisation is critical. Investigators look for warning signs, research into potential targets, attempts to acquire weapons, reconnaissance of buildings, travel plans, or communication with known extremist figures. These signals change the urgency of the investigation, because once preparation begins, the timeline accelerates. During this stage, analysts construct what is known as an intelligence picture. They map connections, communication networks, financial transactions, travel movements, digital interactions. Every detail helps reveal the scale of the threat. Sometimes the investigation expands. One suspect leads to another, then another. What first appeared to be an individual may turn out to be part of a wider network. At the same time, counter-terrorism police begin preparing for the possibility of prosecution. In the UK, the primary force responsible is Counter Terrorism Policing, often abbreviated as CTP. These officers specialise in terrorism investigations. They understand both intelligence work and criminal law. Working alongside MI5, they begin identifying potential criminal offences. Under UK law, terrorism offences can include preparation of terrorist acts, membership of a banned organisation, possession of material useful for terrorism, encouraging terrorism, or providing financial support for extremist activity. Each offence requires specific evidence, so investigators must gather proof carefully. Sometimes covert human sources play a role. These may be informants, or individuals who provide information from inside extremist networks. Such sources can be extremely valuable, but their use is tightly controlled. Their identities must remain protected, and any intelligence they provide must be verified independently. Another major element of modern investigations is digital forensics. Terrorism suspects often generate large amounts of data: phones, laptops, encrypted messaging platforms, cloud storage. Investigators analyse all of it. Even when messages are encrypted, patterns of behaviour can reveal connections. Metadata, communication timing, location signals, device interactions all contribute to the intelligence picture. Throughout the investigation, one question dominates every discussion. When should the arrest happen? Arrest too early. And the evidence may be insufficient. Arrest too late. And the suspect may carry out an attack. This decision is one of the most difficult in counter-terrorism operations. Investigators constantly reassess risk. They examine new intelligence. They analyse behaviour. They evaluate whether the suspect has moved from planning to execution. If the threat becomes imminent, intervention happens immediately. Public safety always comes first. Once the decision to arrest is made, operational planning begins. Counter-terrorism police design the arrest operation. These operations are often high risk. Suspects may possess weapons, explosives, or dangerous materials. Specialist units may be deployed: armed officers, entry teams, explosive disposal experts, medical support teams. Every detail is planned. Arrests often occur early in the morning, before suspects are fully awake, before evidence can be destroyed, before accomplices can be warned. Multiple locations may be targeted simultaneously: homes, vehicles, storage units, workplaces. Once arrested, suspects are taken into custody. Under UK law, terrorism suspects can be detained for questioning. Special legal provisions allow extended detention periods, but every extension must be authorised by a judge. Investigators use this time carefully. They conduct interviews, review evidence, and examine digital devices seized during the operation. Phones and computers are analysed urgently because they may reveal additional threats. Meanwhile, forensic teams search the locations connected to the suspect. They look for weapons, explosive materials, documents, electronic storage devices. Everything discovered must be catalogued, photographed, and logged according to strict evidential procedures. Interviews with suspects are recorded. Lawyers are present. The process is tightly regulated. Investigators ask questions designed to clarify the evidence. Sometimes suspects cooperate. Sometimes they remain silent. Either way, the evidence must stand on its own. Once questioning concludes, prosecutors review the case. The Crown Prosecution Service examines the evidence. They must decide whether criminal charges should be brought. 2 tests apply. First, is there enough evidence for a realistic prospect of conviction? Second, is prosecution in the public interest? If both conditions are satisfied, charges are authorised. The case then moves into the criminal justice system. Court proceedings begin. Some intelligence material may remain classified. Special legal procedures exist to protect sensitive information, but the goal remains the same: to prove the defendant's actions beyond reasonable doubt. Some investigations lead to convictions. Others end in acquittal. But every case teaches investigators something: new patterns, new methods, new warning signs. These lessons strengthen future investigations. Because counter-terrorism is not a single event. It is a continuous process, a process built on intelligence, law, and coordination. The public often sees only the final moment, the raid, the arrest, the headlines, but the real story begins much earlier, with information, analysis, and months, sometimes years, of careful investigation. When the system works, the public never sees the attack that was prevented, only the case that was built, from intelligence to arrest, explained. If you found this breakdown valuable, stay with us. In the next episode, we examine a question that intelligence services face every day: how the UK tracks thousands of potential extremists at once, and why only a small number become active investigations. Until then, this is UK Tech, Explained UK, Britain, where the systems behind national security are unpacked, carefully, clearly, and without the myths.